welcome again to another episode of Discussions on the Couch. Nanaja and I will be discussing with Esther, a mental health advocate and a medical student. She was here with us to talk about depression, and today we'll be talking about abusive relationships. Follow us on our social media pages on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram at BarswellGH. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, welcome again, Esther.
Thank you very much.
Months ago, the issue of abusive relationships was on the rise. So, we want to know, how will a person, or how do you survive after leaving an abusive relationship?
But Esther, first of all, I think that it will be important for us to, I think the issue has been talked about on various platforms where people being abused, what do they do to them? But I want us to understand, I mean, being a mental health advocate like yourself, what does it look like to be in an abusive relationship?
Okay. So first of all, when we say someone is in an abusive relationship, whoever is abusing the person, first you have to understand that it is intentional. Because when you look at the definition they give for abusive relationships, they tell us that it's the intentional use of either physical, emotional, verbal, psychological manipulation, whether it happens or it's just a threat. And the people we are talking about they have to be maybe intimate partners or spouses. Yes. So now, sometimes people are in these relationships. I think for Ghana, it's on the rise, or in Africa, I would say it's on the rise because of some of the cultural norms that we have. We have a very strong belief that men are supposed to be the heads of families. But then before I continue, I have to mention that abusive relationships, it's not only women who are abused. It goes both ways. I was reading an article where they said even the vice president of Zimbabwe was saying that his wife was abusing him. So it goes on to tell us that it's not just women who are abused, but it goes both ways. It doesn't matter who you are, it can happen to anybody. Now, I was saying that in Africa, I think it happens like this because of the way our systems are. We believe men are supposed to be the heads of families. And so most of the time, a lot of men think that they need to have control over their wives. I read a document that said a survey was done, and it was surprising to find out that 60% of women in Ghana actually think that men are justified to beat their wives for very, very small reasons, like not giving him food, coming back home late, not taking care of the kids. And 60% of women actually agree or believe that a man is justified to beat his wife over an issue as trivial as that. So now when people are in abusive relationships, the funny thing is that most of the time, they don't even know the relationship they are in is abusive. So someone will be in a relationship or in a marriage, and their spouse is always threatening them that if you do this, I will either hurt you. If you do this, I'll either kill you, or I'll kill someone very close to you. Sometimes through any little thing you do, your partner is raising his voice or her voice at you, shouting at you. Some of them too, it's, like we said earlier, it's emotional. So the person may try to make you feel like you are not worth it. They will make you feel like your self, they can actually dampen your self-esteem or your self-confidence, make you feel like nobody else wants you. I'm the only person who wants you. Even if you leave me, nobody else wants you. Yes, and then some partners can even go a long way to deprive their partners of food, money, the basic necessities that we all need in life. And so if you see some of these subtle signs, you may think that, well, it's normal. But then if it is hurting you as an individual, if it is either causing you physical pain, if it is making you depressed, if it is making you sad all the time, if you've noticed that maybe you are losing weight when you are not planning to lose weight, either because you are losing appetite from whatever your partner is doing, or your partner is depriving you of food, then you should start thinking that, okay, whatever relationship I'm finding myself in could be an abusive relationship. The extreme that happens is when the person finally beats you or pushes you, or maybe some of the men will pull the lady's hair and all that. So you shouldn't wait for it to get to the extreme, because if you are not careful, the extreme that's going to happen is the next thing we are going to find is your corpse, because the person will probably end up killing you.
Well, I find it very interesting that women actually think that it is okay for a man to beat his partner because she didn't act right. I mean, act right in quotes, because it's subjective. Now, I think that's the reason why people actually don't speak up
Yeah.
when they are being abused.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you speak to a man, he's probably on the same terrain as the man that beats you. Like, why did you disrespect him?
Yes.
Now, the woman who's supposed to speak for you, who is supposed to be like your person, is now
Also
also
think
on
that
the
it's
other
okay.
side. So now,
Yeah.
who do you speak to? So I think that's actually a very valid point. I mean, a very valid consideration to take when it comes to why people don't actually speak up when they're being abused.
Yeah, I think it's a topic that we actually have to talk about a lot because it was said that in 2007, the government came up with the Domestic Violence Act, and a lot of religious bodies and then cultures came to, try to fight the act because they thought that it was, they said the government was trying to bring in Western values into our system, which is not supposed to be the case. And because of that, it's like the act did not really hold water because the very people we are trying to protect do not think they need the protection after all.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we create more awareness, people understand that it's not okay for anybody to abuse their partner. I think it will take a lot of time because this is a behavior that people have learned over the years. So it will take a very long time for them to unlearn whatever they've learned. So with increased education and awareness, I believe that we would make some headway, but it won't happen just like that. It will take a lot of time.
So it means that we're going to be working on the two people or categories of people involved in the abuser and the abusee.
Yes.
Because the abuser needs to be taught that, see, you don't have all the power in the world. You're not superior to her. She doesn't have to be your slave if you're in a relationship, be it a marriage relationship or a simple intimate relationship. And the abusee needs to be taught that, see, you're worth more than staying in an abusive relationship or allowing someone to overpower you.
Yeah.
What are some of the signs of abusive relationships? There are people that are in relationships and do not think that they are being abused because the man hasn't yet hit her.
Okay. So like I was saying earlier, if you are in a relationship and you realize that because of this relationship, you've become depressed. Now, the depression, usually what happens with abusive relationships is you tend to lose interest in the things that you like to do. So I think it goes two ways. It's either I am the one suffering or maybe I know someone who is suffering.
Yeah.
And so if you know somebody who was very outgoing and then they enter a relationship and then all of a sudden you realize that this person is very withdrawn socially, it could be due to other reasons, but then if you can tell that, well, I think it's because of my relationship that I'm becoming socially withdrawn, or because your partner is preventing you from socializing with other people. Sometimes it could also be that you realize that your partner prevents you from communicating with your family and friends. So they try to control everything that you do. And then you get to a point where your life is sort of centered around just whoever you are with.
Yeah.
You don't have any friends, you don't have any good number of family members in your life. Everything that you do is sort of centered around that one person. And deep down, as a person, you know that you are not happy with whatever is going on. But then you are sort of living in fear and anxiety. People stay in some of these relationships because of fear. Some of them are scared of, okay, if I leave, what is going to happen? Because this person has threatened you that I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to kill somebody that you love.
Yes.
And so you're already scared that, okay, what if I decide to leave and then he ends up killing maybe myself or maybe a family member, or for some married women, my children, So if you are living in fear, you're in a relationship which is supposed to be loving, caring, happy, but then it's just the opposite that you're experiencing. It should tell you that this relationship you're in is not healthy.
But is it always the opposite that they experience? Because for me, or in my very sane self right now, as I'm saying, I'm very clear-minded. If I'm in a relationship, the person is beating me all the time. I mean, why would I stay? Because I'm sure there are times that there will be signs of, oh, but I love you, I want you to stay, this is what you mean to me. What do they use to convince people to stay?
Well, sometimes, just like you said, people usually ask that if he's abusing you, why don't you just leave? But then leaving an abusive relationship is not easy. If you speak to people who have been in abusive relationships before, they'll tell you, because there's a bond you've built over some period of time. So it's not easy to break such bonds. And the reason why some of these people also hold on to some of the relationships is that, like you said, some of them believe that they are hoping that their partners will change. And then they, try to deceive themselves that, okay, there are times that he has been good to me, there are times that we were happy. And so they keep looking back or reflecting on those good times and they hope that their partners will change. For some of them today, sort of believe that I'm the only person who can help him or I'm the only person who understands him. And so if I leave him, they feel like they failed in a way because they feel like they are the only people who can actually help their abusive partners, which is not supposed to be the case. You shouldn't feel responsible for anybody's actions. The person should be responsible for their actions. And for some of these women too, some of the men pretend to go for therapy. They pretend to go for counseling, pretending that they are trying to change. But then the truth of the matter is some of them will go for the therapy sessions, come back and come and do the same things that they were doing even before they went for the therapy sessions. And so as a woman in such a situation, it should tell you that if this person is pretending I'm going to change, or if you are hoping that he's going to change, if you are making a decision that as to whether you want to leave him or you want to stay, I read a quote that said that you should decide based on who he is now rather than who you are hoping that he will become. Yes, that is what a lot of people fail to appreciate, that they hope their partners will become better and their relationship will go back to how it was. Some of them think that I can change him, but then that's not always the case. So that's why some of them actually hold on and hope that things will get better.
Why do people abuse other people?
Well, now if you ask about reasons why people abuse other people, one of the reasons I can talk about is low self-esteem. It goes both ways. Low self-esteem on the part of the person who is abusing somebody, in that this person feels like I'm not so good, or I don't have a lot of self-worth. And so I think that degrading somebody else sort of makes me feel good. It sort of masks my low self-esteem. And then on the side of the person being abused, because the abuser knows, okay, this person has low self-esteem and the person will not be able to open up to anybody else, they go on to, abuse the person because they feel like, well, even your self-esteem is low, your self-worth is not anything that we can write home about. So even if I abuse you, where else are you going? You have to stay with me because you are dependent on me. Some other people to go on to abuse their partners, like we said, because of the culture that we live in. The culture has given them some sort of justification to continue abusing their partners. Some people too will abuse their partners because they feel that that is the only way they can control their partners. So some people have the desire to control people. And sometimes to some people to do it because of mental illnesses. So for mental illnesses, it's a little debatable because they say that for people who have like bipolar disorder and then schizophrenia. Now the people in these two groups, sometimes they have anger issues because of the mental health condition that they have. And so they can become very aggressive and do things to their partners, which they wouldn't do on a normal day. And so if a partner abuses somebody, the person some people claim that, oh, I did it because I was having a mental health problem or something. So I've seen people in Accra Psychiatric Hospital where the court, if your partner reports it to the police, they will arrest you. Then the court sends you to the psychiatric hospital that they should really confirm that, do you really have a problem? So if you really have a problem, that is the only time that the court is a little lenient with whatever you did. But if we go to court and find out that, oh, you're actually pretending, you just decided to beat your partner and then you are trying to hide under the shades of mental illness, then they punish you. And for some people too, because the victims have mental illness, so for people who have, like, say, depression, they are very sad people, they feel worthless, they feel helpless, they feel hopeless. And so if somebody is doing something bad to them, it is very, very unlikely for them to open up to anybody. And so their partners sort of take advantage of the fact that my partner is, mentally ill and can't confide in anybody else. And so they tend to continue with whatever they are doing.
So there's really never, I'm sorry asking something, but there's really never a factor of I have to do this to her because I don't want to lose her or because I don't want someone to take her away from me. Like, I mean, there's never a factor of love in there.
Well, some people claim they are doing it because of love. But then if you don't want to lose somebody, who hurts somebody they don't want to lose? If you think about it, why would you hurt somebody you don't want to lose? Don't you think that hurting the person would rather push them away? Because for me personally, if I'm with you and you're hurting me, I don't think I'm going to stay there because you think that is what will make me stay with you. And so some of them do claim that they love these women. It could be true that they do love these women, but the person who is abusing the victim, actually, most of them have issues that they need to deal with. And so if you claim you love me, then I think you should get help, because I can't stay there and then you keep beating me and only God knows what is going to happen. Eventually, I may end up dying or end up with an injury that I may never recover from. And so if you say you love me, I don't think you have any justification whatsoever to cause me pain in any way.
There are times when the victims think that what their abusers are doing to them is actually love. Someone comes to your home and you can clearly see that the person has a red eye, and he or she, or usually it's the females, is trying to cover up for the abuser, trying to say, oh, I did this, I knew I shouldn't have done it, and he hates me, he will change, he loves me. I mean, they always try to justify what these abusers do to them.
Like, say he met you talking to someone and then he hits you because of that. Now I'm the one being abused. My justification is, oh, he loves me so much, he doesn't want me to talk to him. He's jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you get it?
Yeah, I get it. So, well, like we say, I think that relationships are supposed to be built on trust. That is one thing. So if you come to meet your partner talking to somebody and you don't have any evidence that they are cheating on you, even if you do have evidence that they are cheating on you or they're talking to somebody else, I don't think you are so justified to hate them. No matter whatever your partner does, I think that relationship should be built on communication. Both of you should sit down as adults, talk about whatever is going on, find solutions to the problems rather than hitting her, because you hitting her may, end up in something that both of you don't want. Either she could end up dying on you and you end up in jail, she could end up hurt. And if you claim you love this woman so much, I don't think you would want to see her in a position where she's in pain. Yes. And so I think that there is really no justification. You may think that your partner is doing that because he's jealous or he's really in love with you, but I still don't think he's justified to hit you.
We've talked about when you are in the relationship. Now, you've mastered the courage, you've left the relationship. How do you survive after leaving such a relationship? Okay.
Like we said earlier, leaving an abusive relationship is very hard. So once you leave, the truth of the matter is that you don't just get up one day and go, especially if you are living with the person. So before you leave, you actually have to plan before you go. In that, for some people, they will start saving up some money. They will start leaving some of their things at probably a friend's house. And then you should be ready to move anytime there's fire on the mountain. So you should know some of the red flags that you should look out for. Some of the women, if you are lucky and let's say you have a car in your house, make sure that the car is always facing the gate. You should have the car fueled up. You should have a spare key that you can get to, immediately there's fire on the mountain. You should make sure that the driver's seat is open, because sometimes some of these accidents actually happen, in a split of a second. One moment you are just there and the person just flares up and then only God knows what happens. Yes. So now let's say you've managed to escape from your partner. I think the first thing you should do is report to the police, because this is somebody who is threatening to kill you or hurt you. And so you should report and, if possible, get a restraining order that this person is a danger or a threat to your life, and so they shouldn't come close to you. There are the domestic violence victim support unit to have shelters that they give to victims of abuse. So you could call, you could actually call them. They have a hotline that is working 24/7.
Okay.
That's, I think, 18555. So you can call 18555 at any time that you feel that you are in any danger or your partner may hurt you. Doves will come to your aid. They'll give you a shelter, a place to stay for the meantime as they investigate whatever is going on. Now, if after the Dovesu stuff you've relocated, make sure that you are keeping your location a secret until you feel safe enough to disclose your location to other people, because some of the partners are so bad that because they feel like, well, you think you jilted me, I'm also going to hurt you. Yes. So no matter where you go, some of them will actually track you and come and hurt you. It gives them a fulfillment. I don't know what it is, but it makes them feel good. Yeah. So you just have to keep your location a secret. Make sure that your partner will not be able to trace you or track you down wherever you are. And then also, one of the important things you have to do is that you have to get therapy or you have to go for counseling. It's very important. I think people underestimate the effects of therapy or counseling on people who have suffered abuse.
Yeah.
When people suffer abuse, they end up bottling up pain, guilt, anger. Some of them even end up having post-traumatic stress disorder. And so if you are able to leave an abusive relationship, it's important that you get a therapist or a counselor who can talk to you so that you can get rid of all the emotions that you've bottled up for so long.
Yeah.
And then also you'll be able to reconnect with your life. You know, you were a person before you met this individual. You had a life, you had family, you had friends. And so it will help you to get rid of the bad emotions. It will help you to reconnect with whoever you are. And then as an individual, I think you should give yourself some time to heal. It's normal. It's normal that you feel sad or you feel guilty for what has happened to you.
Yeah.
But then as you give yourself time to heal and you're going through therapy, you would remember that, okay, I had a life before I met this young man or this young lady.
Yeah.
You reconnect with your friends and your family. Don't rush into a new relationship. That's one mistake that people do. When they leave an abusive relationship, they think that, okay, I think I should enter a new relationship where the person will be loving, caring, because they think they were probably missing out on something nice. However, you need to reconnect with yourself and find out how you even ended up in that abusive relationship so that you don't end up in another one. Yes. And so if you rush into a new relationship, there are chances you are either not going to trust the person because, you know, you have trust issues because of whatever the person you were with was doing to you. So you should give yourself time to heal. As for rushing into a new relationship, I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. I'll just say that give yourself time to heal, get a therapist, and then make sure that you are safe.
I think that, just like you mentioned earlier, that men are also abused. In a situation where a woman has gone through some pain in her previous relationship, she'll come into that new relationship with that pain. And then come and make an innocent man suffer. Now, when that innocent man leaves that relationship, he will also take that pain and make another woman suffer. So the cycle just goes on and on. So then saving one bad relationship is going to save a lot of people in the world. Very true.
Okay, guys. So we brought this discussion to an end. It was an interesting one. It was an educative one. And it is one that will benefit everybody. I hope you picked one or two cues out of this discussion. And don't forget to follow us on our social media pages and subscribe to our channel. And we'll catch you on another episode of Discussions on the Couch.